This is a video about retrograde, combustion, and the apparent motion of planets as seen from the Earth. This is a very important subject, and I hope you'll learn a lot from it. Before I get started, please consider sharing, liking, and commenting on this video. I put a lot of time into making this for you, and I hope you enjoy it and share it with others. Assessing the motion of planets going retrograde and whatnot is as old as astrology and astronomy itself. In fact, even the earliest monuments, such as at Stonehenge and at other astronomical observatories, were often to predict things such as eclipses and the apparent motion of planets, which all has to do with things like retrograde motion and related subjects. You might not know this, but the earliest math itself from all ancient cultures like the Babylonians, the Greeks, Egyptians, Indians, was all developed to track the motions of the planets. That's why we developed math. And of course, within that was also tracking the apparent motion of the planets moving directly or moving retrograde. The earliest systematized cosmological model was from Claudius Ptolemy the Greek around the 2nd century CE. It was Earth-centric or geocentric and used what were called epicycles to correctly track the motions of the planets, forward and retrograde. Even though the fundamentals of the solar system was wrong, which means everything is not revolving around the Earth, the prediction of where the planets would be was correct. This Ptolemaic model was used for 1400 years until the 16th century, when Copernicus correctly realized that we were in a heliocentric solar system where everything was revolving around the sun. Of course, his model most accurately predicted the retrograde and direct motion of the planets, showing that when the retrograde motion appears, it's because the planets are closer to the Earth at that time. So when planets get close to the Earth, their apparent speed creates a retrograde motion. So in this diagram, all the planets would be considered retrograde as they are closest to the Earth at that time. So astrologically, when planets go retrograde, the things that they rule in our life, which is moving forward, tend to back up and become confusing. So here's an example that I use to explain retrograde motion. From October 30th until January 12th, 2023, Mars is going to be retrograde, moving from Gemini to Taurus. I have a free web class where I'm going to talk about that for you and all 12 zodiac signs. You can just go to marsretrogradecycle.com and get that. It's free. And you'll really benefit from this. You just go and register for an upcoming date and time, and you can see how this is going to affect you for the next several months. So let's say you're on the highway driving at 70 miles per hour, and there's a car next to you driving 50 miles per hour. As you pass it, it's going to look like the car is moving backwards, even though, of course, it's moving forward at 50 miles per hour. Does that mean the car was actually moving backwards? No. It was moving forward at 50 miles per hour. But let's say, for example, this is someone you were on a trip with, and you're, going camping, or you're waiting to go to a hotel, and it's 200 miles away. If you're driving 70 miles per hour, you're going to get there in about 3 hours. If they're driving 50 miles per hour, they're going to get there in about 4 hours. Needless to say, they're going to slow you down if you want to arrive at the same time. But let's say you're also worried about their car. Let's say they have an old clunker that you're afraid they're not even going to make it at all, and your car can go faster. You're going to keep checking. You'll be looking in the rearview mirror to make sure they're okay. You're going to have to keep looking and paying attention to that, car to make sure that they're not only, moving slower, but they're going to actually get there at all. This sort of attention and this kind of backing up and focus is really what retrograde planets wind up doing in our life. You're probably going to slow down a little bit, have to keep checking, and sort of worrying about what that thing is doing. So again, the planet is not moving backwards, but relative to our speed on Earth, it is either going slower or it is going backwards. So the thing that the planet rules tends to back up. That's as a living indicator and as the things that the planets rule through house rulership. So remember what I said at the beginning, that Ptolemy's geocentric model that shows everything revolving around the Earth does work correctly. And the reason it works correctly is because the Earth is really the only focal point of everything in astrology, because regardless of what's happening, we're seeing it all from the Earth. So really the Earth is the only thing that we can base the speeds and proximity of all the astronomical phenomena to. Everything we're seeing astrologically, we're seeing it from Earth. Everything we're perceiving is geocentric. So this illusion is built into everything. For example, even something like the sunrise. The sun rose for you today, right? Did it? Did the sun rise? I'll tell you this, the sun has never risen in your entire life. The apparent motion of a sunrise is because the earth is turning. And if you don't realize this, remember it. The sun is not moving, it's sitting there. I mean, it's moving relative to the galactic core, but it's not moving relative to what you think. The sun isn't going through the sky throughout the day. The earth is turning, creating the illusion of the sun's movement. So again, those who say, well, it's not really retrograde, it's all an illusion, everything's an illusion. Everything is being perceived from where you, the perceiver, are seeing it. So retrograde motion is a fascinating phenomena to ponder. There are very specific results that happen when you look at retrograde planets in a natal chart, but the opposite is also important, which is called combustion. That's when planets are furthest away from the Earth. In this diagram here, all the planets would be combust, which is furthest away from the Earth, and it acts in a very opposite way. For example, retrograde, things we tend to do over and over again and get kind of stuck in them. Combust planets we tend to do very quickly and we kind of blow through them. It's kind of like a should I stay or should I go? With retrograde, we stay with something for a long time. With combustion, we tend to not want to stay with it very long at all. It's also an incredibly important astronomical and astrological phenomena. If you really want to take your knowledge of retrograde and combust planets to the next level, you want to register for my upcoming course at movingforwardwithretrograde.com. When you do register now, you get some bonus courses that are available immediately. First is the first retrograde masterclass I ever taught, and the second is a class on the evolution of astronomy through Greece, India, Persia, and Europe. It's incredibly affordable and even comes with a 30-day guarantee if for some reason you didn't think it was worth it, but I'm sure you're going to love this class and learn a lot about retrograde and combust planets. Please find me on YouTube at Sam Jeppe, Vedic Astrology Teacher, on there since 2007, thousands of hours of classes. Also on Facebook at Astrology Teacher, tons of articles updated regularly, and I'm on Instagram at Vedic Astrology 108, ongoing updates and interaction.